This is actually insane. So Anthropic has been deemed a supply chain risk and removed from US government systems. Sam Altman comes along and says, I agree with Dario. I agree with his stance. And the very same day, then agrees to provide all of these AI systems for the US government. So what the hell is going on here? This is actually bonkers, and it could be the very, very first concrete sign of a potential AI bubble popping, because now we've got a problem between the biggest AI labs and their use when it comes to things like mass surveillance, when it comes to things like autonomous weapons. And I hate to say this, but it's very clear that it looks like OpenAI is falling on one side of the argument. And this is starting a massive campaign, a cancel OpenAI campaign, where people are cancelling their subscriptions and moving over to Claude from Anthropic. I just want you to watch this interview. This is literally just broke. Watch this.
If you had a moment with the president right now, tonight, what would you say to him?
You know, I would say we are patriotic Americans. We have done everything we have done has been for the sake of this country, for the sake of supporting U.S. national security. Our leaning forward in deploying our models with the military was done because we believe in this country. We believe in defeating our autocratic adversaries. We believe in defending America. The red lines we have drawn, we drew because we believe that crossing those red lines is contrary to American values. And we wanted to stand up for American values. And when we were threatened with supply chain designation and Defense Production Act, which are unprecedented intrusions into the private economy by the government, we exercised our classic First Amendment rights to speak up and disagree with the government. Disagreeing with the government is the most American thing in the world. And we are patriots. In everything we have done here, we have stood up for the values of this country.
I don't know how you can argue with that. That is, they've stuck to their guns. They have literally said, we don't want you to use our AI systems for autonomous weapons because we don't think they're powerful enough for this. We think they'll make mistakes and we don't want them there. We also don't want you to use them for mass surveillance. And so, yeah, OpenAI have just walked in and gone, yeah, you can use ours though. What? Bull Theory over on Twitter has got like a nice breakdown of what happened. I think it's important to get this sort of timeline in place because, you know, as to say, it was a crazy day. It really was, because in the morning, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei refuses to work with the Pentagon because they wanted to use Claude for mass surveillance and autonomous killer robots, which they did. And, you know, he said, no, we don't want to do that. And then in the afternoon, Sam Altman comes out and says, yeah, I support this. For all the differences I have with Anthropic, I mostly trust them as a company. And I think they really do care about safety. And then in the evening, Trump comes out and bans Anthropic from every federal agency in the United States government because obviously they didn't bend over and do exactly what they told them to do. And then that very same night, Sam Altman, OpenAI submitted a bid to replace Anthropic and officially reached a deal with the Pentagon. So we're going to look at what OpenAI say in their statement and what Sam Altman says as well in his statement. But first, we're going to take a look at Anthropic and what they say in response to this. So this is a statement on the comments from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. And I want to start with this quote from the document. No amount of intimidation or punishment from the Department of War will change our position on mass domestic surveillance or fully autonomous weapons. We will challenge any supply chain risk designation in court. So once again, they're saying, no, this goes against what we believe, and we're not going to have this. And you cannot, like, you have to respect that. That is, you know, they could have just taken the money. They were embedded in the US government and in the military systems at the Pentagon. They were there being used. They had an initial $200 million contract, I believe. They've been there for a while, one of the first AI models which has been deployed in that way. But as soon as it came to the crunch of, well, okay, now we want to use you for mass surveillance and also for autonomous weapons, they said, no, we're not having that. See, because the thing is, and Dario explained this in one of his... I think I'll try and find the source of this, but I just want to ad-lib it. But he basically says the thing is with AI tools is the data may be there at the moment, like out there on the internet, but AI tools let you very quickly compile that data and build up profiles of people, which hasn't really been possible before. So if you start deploying these Frontier Labs AI models to do that kind of thing with government data, you know, think of what like the NSA is doing with this kind of stuff, it would be insane. And Anthropic have said no. And the US government have gone, well, actually, no, we want ultimate control of this. we want to use it for whatever we deem necessary. So you give us full control or you go. And they said no. And you have to respect them for that, because obviously this is a lot of money for them. And it's good to see that at least one AI lab seems to just not take money from everyone and anywhere. Like, it just doesn't care. Right, so let's read the statement. A statement on the comments from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Earlier today, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth shared on X that he is directing the Department of War to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk. This action follows months of negotiations and reached an impasse over 2 exceptions we requested to the lawful use of our AI models: Claude, the mass domestic surveillance of Americans, and fully autonomous weapons. We have not yet received direct communication from the Department of War or the White House on the status of our negotiations. We have tried in good faith to reach an agreement with the Department of War, making clear that we support all lawful uses of AI for national security, aside from the 2 narrow exceptions above. To the best of our knowledge, these exceptions have not affected a single government mission to date. We held our exceptions for 2 reasons. First, we do not believe that today's frontier AI models are reliable enough to be used in fully autonomous weapons. Allowing current models to be used in this way would endanger America's warfighters and civilians. Second, we believe that mass domestic surveillance of Americans constitutes a violation of fundamental rights. Designating Anthropic as a supply chain risk would be an unprecedented action, one historically reserved for US adversaries, never before publicly applied to an American company. We are deeply saddened by these developments. As the first frontier AI company to deploy models in the US government's classified networks, Anthropic has supported American warfighters since June 24 and has every intention of continuing to do so. We believe this designation would both be legally unsound and set a dangerous precedent for any American company that negotiates with the government. No amount of intimidation or punishment from the Department of War will change our position on mass domestic surveillance or fully autonomous weapons. We will challenge any supply chain risk designation in court. What this means for our customers: Secretary Hegseth has implied this designation would restrict anyone who does business with the military from doing business with Anthropic. The Secretary does not have the statutory authority to back up this statement. Legally, a supply chain risk designation under 10 U.S.C. 3252 can only extend to the uses of Claude as part of Department of War contracts. It cannot affect how contractors use Claude to serve other customers. In practice, this means if you are an individual customer or hold a commercial contract with Anthropic, your access to Claude through our API, Claude.ai, or any of our products is completely unaffected. If you are a Department of War contractor, this designation, if formally adopted, would only affect your use of Claude on Department of War contract work. Your use for any other purpose is unaffected. Our sales and support teams are standing by to answer any questions you may have. We are deeply grateful to our users and to the industry peers, policymakers, veterans, and members of the public who have voiced their support in recent days. Thank you. Above all else, our priorities are to protect our customers from any disruption caused by these extraordinary events, and to work with the Department of War to ensure a smooth transition for them, for our troops, and for the American military operations. So let's take a look at what Sam Altman has done off the back of this. So I suppose in an ideal world, all of the top AI labs would have got together and said, no, we don't agree with this. Autonomous weapons, mass surveillance, we're not having this. We don't want you to use our models to do this. Only they haven't. And of course they haven't. And of course, leading the charge of this is Sam Altman, who actually the very same day was like, and I agree with you, Anthropic. Now I don't, because there's money on the table. That's how this guy operates. So tonight we reached an agreement with the Department of War to deploy our models in their classified network. In all of our interactions with the Department of War, the Department of War displayed a deep respect for safety and a desire to partner to achieve the best. I mean, it sounds crazy, don't it? The Department of War, a deep respect for safety. Have you guys looked at the news recently, like today? What's been happening? Anyway, AI safety and wide distribution of benefits are the core of our mission. 2 of our most important safety principles are prohibitions on domestic mass surveillance and human responsibility for the use of force, including for autonomous weapon systems. The Department of War agrees with these principles, reflects them in law and policy, and we put them into our agreement. If they did, they would have just carried on with Anthropic, right? But they don't. The agreement is the same. We all know it's the same. We also will build technical safeguards to ensure our models behave as they should, which the Department of War also wanted. We will deploy FDEs to help with our models and to ensure their safety. We will deploy on cloud networks only. We are asking the Department of War to offer these same terms to all AI companies, which in our opinion, we think everyone should be willing to accept. We've expressed our strong desire to see things de-escalate away from legal and governmental actions and towards reasonable agreements. We remain committed to serve all of humanity as best we can. The world is complicated, messy, and sometimes a dangerous place. I mean, what? Like, I don't. It's great. It's the same. It's the same day. I agree with what you say, Anthropic. You know, we don't want the government to just go crazy with our AI models because we know they can do some serious harm, especially to American citizens and the rest of the world. You know, because beyond no illusion here, right? Clearly I'm British, right? I'm in Britain, but Britain uses these systems as well, yeah, right? So this is going to affect me. It's going to affect everyone, and it's just crazy. But the way that they just quickly flip, it's like that. I agree with what you're saying. No, I don't now, because there's an opportunity for us to get embedded in government systems. So let's take it, and we'll just agree to anything. It's crazy. But you can see context has been added to this through the community note system. Government officials have contradicted Sam's claim, saying OpenAI will allow the Department of War to use their models for all lawful purposes. This could allow for uses Anthropic refused to engage in, namely mass surveillance tools and weapons systems with no human oversight. And it has got to be said here, the thing with these AI systems is the law hasn't caught up with the speed of development. Now, politics moves slow anyway. Well, I suppose you could say it's been moving quite fast in recent years. But when it comes to actually passing laws through a government, especially the American system, it takes time. So any kind of guardrails, any kind of support or legal structure around the way these systems can be deployed, it just isn't there yet. So it very much is like it's just the Wild West. They can say things, oh yeah, we're going to do it within legal the current legal framework, which they already know is outdated. So this is very worrying. It's very worrying. So what about this cancel ChatGPT movement? Now, I'm going to use this article from Windows Central because it compiles a lot of the, I guess, a lot of the sources, so we can concisely go through this. Again, there's a link in the video description below to all of this. But they're saying cancel ChatGPT movement goes mainstream after OpenAI closes deal with US Department of War as Anthropic refuses to surveil American citizens. There's even a tweet from Katy Perry where she's now signing up to Anthropic's Claude Pro plan instead of ChatGPT. She's now cancelled that. It's like what is even going on in this world? So they're going to say, there's no virtuous participants in the artificial intelligence race, but if there was, it might have been Anthropic. And you've got to remember, Anthropic were founded on this sort of idea of, they want to be a responsible lab, not just throw all ethics out the window in the face of development. Also, I don't know whether you guys can see this, right? Look at this. The sun. I've not seen it for 3 months. I live in the UK. I can turn these lights off now. Oh, my days. Anyway, large language model tech is built on mountains of stolen data, which is true. The entire summation of decades of open internet was downloaded and converted by billionaires into tech that threatened to destroy billions of jobs and the global economy and potentially the human race. All right, then, okay. But again, you can go deep into that. We're not going to go deep into that in this video, but you can. Skynet, here we go. There are more moral leaders in this space, sadly. There are no more, I should say. Again, this is according to the article. I'm just reading this off as we go. But in the very least, Anthropic of Claude fame took strong stand this week against the United States government to the ire of the Trump administration. So we know they were deemed a supply chain risk. We've been through this in the video, so we're just going to skip through this. I want to get down to, I'm pretty sure they had the, let's have a look at this. I want to control the way its technology views. Yeah. It's not that. Here we go. So the move has sparked immediate backlash on ChatGPT and OpenAI communities online. Now, this is, in some ways, you'll see this unfold in your life, I think. So if you're watching this video, you're obviously interested in this kind of topic, right? So you've searched it up and you're watching longer form content on YouTube. If you're reading it on Reddit, if you're reading it on Twitter, if you're reading articles about it, fair enough. The thing is, though, I'm pretty sure most people in your life that do use AI, whether they've got, they use it on their phone for whatever application, or maybe they use it at work. But let's just keep this to people using it for personal reasons. They'll be using OpenAI. It's the top app on the App Store. They don't follow the news. They don't simply care. They just use OpenAI. So I don't think things like this are going to have a massive impact on ChatGPT and OpenAI at the moment. But of course, these things have to start somewhere. Just for complete disclosure, I don't have a ChatGPT subscription. I've never had one. I've never used any of their... I've messed around with ChatGPT, but I've never used any of their systems. Same goes for Claude. In fact, the only one I do have a subscription to, and it is because I've got a Google Apps account, which I use for my email and that. I think it's a pro level subscription, but it's Gemini basically. So I do use that sometimes, but it's not like I'm a massive ChatGPT fan or a massive Claude fan, and I hate the other company for whatever reason. I'm trying to stay objective in this and just say, like, you know, I don't think there's going to be much of an impact here because, again, it's that thing of there's a big noise on the internet where we're looking, but the wider world probably just doesn't care. Anyway, over on ChatGPT Reddit, they say you're now training a war machine. Let's see proof of cancellation, and people posting their cancellations with 14,000 upvotes, so obviously pretty popular. Time to cancel ChatGPT Plus after 3 years. Anthropic got nuked for having ethics, and Sam Altman instantly swooped in for the Pentagon. I mean, this is the joke of the situation, right? The guy, the same day. I mean, how can you how the hell, like, how the fuck can you trust this guy with your data, with your, you know, the profile their AI models that are built upon you? If in the same day he can say, I agree with Anthropic, you know, let's have some form of ethics, to then suddenly go, oh, fuck this, get us in the government, bang, let's do it. It's crazy. And I suppose the joke is it wouldn't have been the same day. This would have been worked on for a while, right? He knew it was coming. He just bullshits, and it's horrific. It's like it's such a terrible. He's like a garbage face for the AI industry. It's so bad. So let's get this straight. Anthropic refused to work with the Department of War unless they could promise their tech wasn't used for surveillance or killing. The Department of War said they need full capabilities. Anthropic declined to give full capabilities, and then OpenAI stood by Anthropic for ensuring AI safety, and then Trump cancelled all Anthropic usage across the government and a $200 million contract, and then OpenAI, well, they submitted a bid and they have replaced them. It's insane. Now, I just said I've used the Google system the most out of all of them. Look at this. Like, so even they don't give a shit, basically. Like, concern over Google ending ban on AI weapons. Google's parent company lifted, I mean, this is from last year as well, lifting a long-standing ban on artificial intelligence AI being used for developing weapons and surveillance tools is incredibly concerning, a leading human rights group has said. Alphabet has rewritten its guidelines on how it will use AI, dropping a section which previously ruled out applications that were likely to cause harm. Human Rights Watch has criticised the decision, telling the BBC that AI can complicate accountability for battlefield decisions that may have life or death consequences. In a blog post, Google defended the change, arguing that businesses and democratic governments need to work together on AI that supports national security. Right. This is a situation that is insane. It's actually insane when you think about this. So we're now starting to see these AI models get integrated at the highest levels of government, right? They've been there for a while, right? They've been integrated into these systems before, but now it's getting to the point where militaries, the US military, want to use this technology offensively and for mass surveillance because it would be very good at that. Then when they ask the providers if they can remove the safeguards to allow them to do that, and they say no, what they do then is deem that provider a national security risk and instead go to the next provider that's willing to supply. I suppose in some ironic ways, you would have thought it would have been XAI that they immediately went running to, but instead it was ChatGPT. So that's probably more of a commentary on how bad Grok and XAI is as a model. But I think what's worrying for all of us is, again, where does this go? Like, the AI labs clearly don't care about ethics. They will remove things if they get in their way. And this isn't just restricted to AI. These companies, and we all use their products all the time. I'm talking to you through YouTube. It is a Google platform. I make money off this, yada, yada, yada. I've told you I use the AI models, blah, 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 all of this shit, right? These companies have all got, I mean, Google's thing was famously do no harm, wasn't it? That was the tagline, and then they got rid of it. And it's like, these companies are all ruthless to a degree. But AI labs, and I've said this before, and it is important and imperative I say this again, they are developing tools and systems that are going to redefine the world. They are like, it is the new nuclear age. I keep saying this, but it is so very true. However, it isn't governments doing this. It is private companies, and there are multiple of these in the leading economies. Obviously, in America, with all the frontier labs, you've got the open source labs over in China. Europe is massively lacking behind with absolutely nothing, really, in terms of any major AI system. It's more than likely just going to be using American systems. So again, that's more American pressure and dominance over Europe. But these frontier labs don't all have the same moral compass. They, as we can clearly see, Anthropic has got more of a compass than ChatGPT. They're willing to instantly give away safeguards, data, everything. They don't care. They will just go after it. Musk's operation, I mean, and then you've got Anthropic, that seemed the lesser of all the evils, but they're now getting sidelined. And will they just get what, you know, where does this go? It's too much for my brain to comprehend. All right, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I think the cracks are starting to show in this AI race. And where we go from here, who really knows? All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. I've been Stylosa. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, then let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon.